Another day and another games journalist and Twitter Puritan meltdown. I swear to God, we should make a sign, you know, one of those things that you see in a factory and it says, "This many days since the last incident." Except for this sign would be used online and it would be, "This many days since a games journalist didn't get triggered from seeing boobs or an attractive girl in a video game." Judging by the way these games journalists behave online, I'd say that counter would never get above 1. It actually wouldn't surprise me if we ended up in the negative somehow. I don't know how it would happen, but they would manage. I always think about Jurassic Park, you know, life finds a way, but instead of life finds a way, it's games journalists find a way to be offended by everything all of the time. So what brings us together today, I hear you ask, viewer? It's something so universally loved, something that we can all set aside our differences and just appreciate. Of course, what I'm talking about is boobs. Yes, you heard me correctly. Chesticles, milkers, you know, those things that sit on women's chests that apparently frighten games journalists to no end. A few days ago, Sony held their PlayStation showcase and we got a look at a bunch of new games. 2 games in particular caught my attention. One of them was a game called Forspoken, which we're going to be talking about in just a little bit, but the other game is actually the topic of this video, if you couldn't guess by the thumbnail and the title, shocker I know, and that game is Project Eve. Now, Project Eve has found itself at the center of a really bizarre controversy. Well, actually, I don't think it's bizarre in today's day and age. It's actually par for the course now that I think about it. Because, you see, we have a conventionally attractive woman starring in a game and she's wearing a pretty tight outfit, and I don't mean tight in the like late 90s, early 2000s way, though I do think it's kind of cool looking. No, I mean it accentuates her feminine figure, which, God forbid, you can't do that anymore. You know, that's just doing a sexmatism. You can't show off the female body unless that female body happens to look like Abby, in which case you're good to go. Feel free to throw in as many gross sex scenes as you want. I mean, could you imagine if Project Eve has a sex scene, people are gonna fucking lose it? They'll watch Abby have sex all day because, you know, people are sick. And no, it's not because I don't like women that have muscles. I think abs are attractive. I just don't like seeing this person that looks like my high school gym teacher getting railed. By the way, it was a guy, my football coach. Not the person getting railed and not the one railing Abby. I'm talking about, never mind. Before we go any further, if you like me and my content, be sure to hit the like button on this video, and if you're new to the channel, check this video out, wait until the end, hit the subscribe button if you think I earned it. Digital Foundry wants you to know that they are not going to put up with sexy women in games. It's just not gonna happen on their watch, and they want you to know that they're the good guys, that they're like the male feminists, they're on your side. So, to all the ladies out there, if you like what you see in Project Eve, just shut your mouth, okay? Shut up, because that's sexist. Let the men tell you how to think, alright, sweetheart? Now, we're gonna go through this clip together because, you know, sharing is caring and whatnot. We're gonna be taking a look at a clip from this Digital Foundry video where they're discussing Project Eve, and I'm gonna leave a link for the entire video down in the description below.
The one thing, I know you were talking about the character from a bygone era. I do think the character model was actually like very distracting in not a good way.
Now, he says a character from a bygone era, and I can actually agree with him here. We are no longer living in a time where women can be conventionally attractive in media and in video games without some woke weirdo losing their shit over it. I don't know what it is about conventionally attractive people that bother these people so much, and keep in mind, the guy talking about this has done some kind of modeling jobs where he's taken photos like this. And like, I'm not gonna shit talk the guy for taking these pictures. I'm not a model. Not that I'm a really big fan of this kind of modeling. I mean, this seems like something that would be in the bedroom and private with your partner, but maybe that's just me. My point is, human beings like seeing attractive human beings. The saying sex sells exists for a reason. Men like seeing attractive women in games and movies. Hell, women like seeing attractive women in games and movies. Attractive men in games and movies too. We all appreciate and enjoy that. And spoiler alert, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't know how we've gotten to this point, this weird puritanical point, where the sight of a woman that is thin, that has not even big, huge breasts and a nice butt, nothing too outlandish, just is mind-boggling for these people. It's so bizarre to me.
Because like with the camera angles chosen, it just felt like this game seems like a game that came out in like 002 in terms of its, you know, like character design.
Oh, so the camera angles are a problem. You mean like the 3 or 4 times we get a nice ass shot? That's the big problem for you? Now, I'm not making the argument that the shots weren't fan servicey, because they absolutely were, and guess what? There is nothing wrong with some fan service. I mean, God forbid you ever see anime. I mean, fan service in an anime would absolutely short-circuit your brain, without a doubt. I can only imagine, if he played Bayonetta or Nier, I don't think he could do it, to be honest. He'd probably have to sit there covering his eyes and just be like, oh, I can't look at this, God is watching me. To be fair, he did say the character model was distracting, so if he was playing Nier, maybe he was just too busy, too distracted, trying to get that perfect upskirt shot of 2B. That's not saying I would blame him for that. But really, if you're saying that you were distracted by a character model, that kind of sounds like a personal thing. Sure, she's a hot character, but I mean, there were these giant, weird, demon alien-like things with crazy teeth protruding out of their bodies. There is a lot going on in this trailer. So the fact that you're saying that you were being distracted by this character model says a lot more about you than you think it does. You know, when people talk like this, it comes off as blatant pandering to me. They are clearly trying to score some points with the woke SJW crowd, who are gonna be like, body positivity, yeah! Unless you're thin and you have a nice body, then fuck you, because I want that body and I'm too lazy to get it myself. And if you watch the whole video, it's not just this guy Alex talking about it, it's all of them. They're just talking about, oh, from the neck down, this character is very problematic, haha, it's bad, am I right, guys? This is the biggest incel video call that I've ever seen in my life.
It's like a bit old and not flattering, I don't think, for a modern audience. In comparison to something like Forspoken, which has, you know, I mean, yes, it has a much more realistic looking character designs. It's not these hyper proportioned something or another's, but it also seemed, I don't know, a bit more grounded in a way that I found much more appealing.
When you hear somebody talk about, this isn't suited for modern audiences, this isn't flattering for modern audiences, what they're saying is that something is either too funny or too attractive for people that are so goddamn sensitive today to like. Because we have infantilized ourselves over the years, and it's truly sad where we're at as a culture and as a society. Yes, cue the Joker meme, we live in a society. But in all seriousness, when talking about this character design in this context, saying that it's not suited for a modern audience just means that she's a hot girl. That's pretty much it. Not like the character design from Forspoken. Now, before we talk about Forspoken, I just want to touch on one previous thing that Alex mentioned here. A character from 2002. What the hell's wrong with 2002? Do you see how many great games came out in 2002? If this is anything like what we were getting back then, I'm all for it. Sign me up. I was already gonna buy it day one, because I mean, look at that ass. But, I mean, I'm all for more games like we had back in 2002. Let's do it. Oh, sorry, 002, as he was saying. Now, Forspoken, I think this game looks really cool. Graphically, very impressive. I think the combat looks really interesting. We need to see more gameplay. Obviously, this was a very controlled environment. It's supposed to get you hyped up for the game, but full disclosure, I think it looks really cool. Now, the character design, she looks incredibly bland to me. It's not anything offensive. They're not trying to pander. I think she's just kind of meh. And this is not anything against the actress that they used to model this character off of. I mean, look at her, she's gorgeous. It's just the character design itself. She's just wearing flannel shirts, which, I mean, I'm clearly a fan of flannels. She's just wearing a flannel, she's got jeans on, and then even when she has her other outfit on, when she's in this crazy world, it's still her jeans from what it looks like. She's wearing a black undershirt, which was probably underneath her flannel, and then her flannel is just wrapped around her waist and she's got like a cape on. It's nothing really mind-blowing. Again, it's just kind of whatever. It really does remind me of the whole bland, generic video game box art thing. That's just what her costume says to me. It's just bland and uninspired. And I don't know about you, but I for one would rather have something that is much more stylized and memorable than something that is going to be bland and forgettable. So Alex points out that the character design for Forspoken is a lot more grounded, and a lot of that looks like it has to do with the narrative of the game. I mean, you have this human character from Earth, it looks like, being transported to this magical realm. So yes, she's going to look more like what we're used to seeing on Earth, just in a different setting. With Eve, she seems like somebody who is used to fighting, and it's a science fiction world. She is more dressed for this very stylized science fiction setting. You know, look at Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry is an incredibly stylish and stylized game. I mean, would Alex and the guys over here at Digital Foundry have issues with characters like Lady? I mean, maybe they would say, it's a character from a bygone era. In other words, hashtag booba bad. And don't even get them started on Nico. I'm sure they're gonna have an aneurysm about that one.
From a general standpoint, I do agree with you, but I do think Project Eve, when it comes to facial construction, it does have some merit though, because the characters look very different. It's just that once you go, neck down, there's a lot of issues on display.
That's the problem.
And this is what I mean. Oh, from the neck down, there's a lot of issues. Like, what kind of weird incel shit is this? Are you just used to looking at women that look like Honey Boo Boo's mom, just this puddle of flesh, this hunk of meat? Digital Foundry is no stranger to Korean games. I mean, hell, their whole channel is based on analyzing games and game performance. Hell, even in this same video, they talk about how the Korean game market is going, so they definitely have an idea of how Korean developers design games and design characters. Black Desert Online, a great example of this. It's an MMO and it has an incredibly extensive character builder. There are presets, and even if by looking at the presets, the men and the women in that game, conventionally attractive. And just look at the tools that the developers gave players to make really beautiful, granted on the flip side, incredibly ugly, but for the most part, you can make some very attractive people because that's what people like to look at, that's what people like to play as, good-looking characters. It's really not rocket science. It's just so strange to me seeing people demonize character design like this. Pretty soon we're gonna start seeing articles about Samus from the Metroid series. Her waist is way too thin. How does she curl up into the ball like that? Where are her organs? But of course, people like myself who make videos defending attractive characters in video games and film, we're the incels, right? That's what they call us, just because we want to see normal-looking characters in a video game. The classic defense of all this is you're just mad that you can't jerk off to a character. If we're being honest, I feel like that's pretty exclusionary. I mean, women can't jerk off, and I guarantee you women do like hot characters in games. Though I can't expect the people that say you're just mad because you can't jerk off to this character to know what it's like to talk to women, so I guess I can't really hold it against them. And yes, I know there are women that like to use that talk track, but I mean, have you seen them? Because they're typically the ones that don't want any more competition. Life's hard enough for them as it is. Project Eve is not something like Dead or Alive beach volleyball. This is not a game that is explicitly sexual, that's being over the top with its sexuality and costumes by any means. They're treating this game as if it's the guy game. But again, what I think this all comes down to is nothing more than virtue signaling. It's the male feminist saying, look ladies, I'm on your side, now please let me get into your pants. I, for one, am really glad to see this game coming out. If the game is making games journalists have this kind of reaction, I can kind of assume that the game's already on the right track. It's kind of like looking at Rotten Tomato scores. Like, you can't really take Rotten Tomatoes all that seriously, but when you see the critics rating something incredibly high and the fans are rating it incredibly low, it's most likely shit. So if a games journalist is getting upset by something, chances are I'm going to like it, and probably most of you are as well. And that's what I have for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I want to know what you think about all of this. I want to know what you think about this character design. Is this problematic? Do you think she's cute? Is it hashtag booba bad? Is it hashtag booba good? Please let me know down in the comment section below. As always, if you like the video, be sure to drop a like, and if you really want to help support this channel, hit the like button and make sure that you're subscribed and share this video. Before we go, I want to give a huge shout out to my amazing channel members. You guys are awesome. If you want to become a channel member, just hit that join button right below where this video is playing. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, stay metal, and I will see you in the next video.